Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to our April Teaching and Learning for Student Success monthly webinar series. This month's webinar is a little bit different from previous webinars since, again, we're celebrating National Poetry Month with San Antonio's Voces, Cósmicas, who will be performing a poetry reading broadcast from the Collins Garden Library in San Antonio, Texas. And they are using a webcam, so you should be able to see their webcam on your screen. For best viewing, I recommend expanding your webcam to full screen mode, which you can do by clicking on the two arrows in the lower right-hand corner of your GoToWebinar screen. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce our first poet, Jacinto Jesus Cardona. Jesus Cardona, a San Antonio poet and teacher, is the author of Pan Dulce, a poetry collection celebrating his Tex-Mex heritage. In 2016, his poem Bato con Kakis was performed by the New York Symphony Space. Among his awards are a San Antonio Spoken Word Champion Award, a William Stafford Poetry Prize finalist, Ford Salute to Arts Education Award, a Harvard University NEH Visiting Scholarship, and a Trinity University Prize for Teaching Excellence. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jacinto. Thank you for getting us started today.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Pan Dulce. I remember riding my fenderless bike to La Panaderia del Pueblo. Sometimes I would go alone. Sometimes I would dream I took Abuelo by the hand. I remember Pan Dulce tasting even sweeter after confessing my sins at St. Joseph's Catholic Church. Nothing like dulcified bread for crucified bones. And I remember standing in front of the glass displays, telling El Panadero, I'll take one of these, and one of those, and one of these, unlike the cool Pachuco who came in asking for pan de polvo, un regalo, y un hueso azucarado to go. I had not mastered the names of Pan Dulce. So imagine my thrill. Imagine the authority in my chavalon bones when I returned asking for dos huesos azucarados, 2 sugared bones to go. Yes, I remember Pan Dulce, La Virgen de Guadalupe bordered by blue neon lights, and how the smell of canela reminded me of Abuelito's peloncillo skin. Oh, I don't live on Avocado Avenue. I've never been in the vicinity of avocado trees, but I must confess, de vez en cuando, I would rather be un vagabundo hawking velvet avocados por los barrios de Aslan, Texas, USA. Yes, I do confess. I am an avocado aficionado. I will vouch for any avocado. You see, avocados are not vociferous. They are content to be versant with philosophical windowsills. Visualize 2 avocados, 2 summer syllables ripening on a windowsill, and you, my friend, will visualize world peace. Paz, paz, paz. You see, avocados are not equivocados. They're not into hate. Do not equivocate. Read my lips. Aguacates are not into voodoo economics. They just want a place on your Mexican plate. But what must aguacates think? Mexican food is chic. It's made the New York celebrity list. It's Gucci bags, ta-ta-ta, next to guacamole bowls. No, there are no revolutions on Guadalupe Street. Only the blooming rose bushes by Rudy's transmission. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Entry. Entry is an independent Mexican-American rapper, poet, and producer. Professionally known as Entry, is from Los Angeles, California, eventually relocating to San Antonio, Texas. His work can be found on entry.bandcamp.com. Entry.
How's everybody doing out there? I've prepared a slam poem here for you called Ghetto Youth. Ghetto youth in search of the con artist that bomb-hearted the strong-hearted, living in my project apartment. Never thought I'd go from innocence to becoming so heartless, or seeing childhood friends I've known since a sandbox in coffins. Don't allow them to calcify the eye that sharpens your thought process. I'm personally fathering the unfostered children wandering these streets lost. Who would have thought struggle would look this charming? I'm evolving at a rate that will baffle Charles Darwin. The reason why I bargain is I'm too proud to beg for your pardon. I'm facing the same gentrification furious styles will preach about in Compton, or I riot the streets with violence and expect peaceful silence. Only way to defeat the virus is to seek Osiris, who placed the heat to his cheek and fire. Is that just an unequal bias? Are we meant to be overseen by tyrants disguised as lives with suit and ties so we don't think about it? Nah. They much rather have us caught in the midst of graffiti cans filled with vulgar thoughts and disobedience, smoking TAT strands with seeds and handsome mind that clash with time for those who serve it. They gave us struggle, so we gave them back gold. They gave us pain, so we gave them back soul. There's no rules to plunder, but we're permanently burdened. Most folks finding themselves because they lost somebody or they distract themselves with the harshest hobbies. So I look in the mirror and see a young Julio Cesar Chavez fused with Rico Suave, young Kimo Sabe ducking Rico charges out here. Seem like too much to get into. Like the multi-dimensional problems of the existential made you resentful. So don't try to act norm. Utilize your black scorn to build a platform for the future to stand on. Thank you.
Y'all, you are muted. It says self-muted.
They didn't touch anything, did they?
I'm not sure. There we go. There we go. Entry, we got your entire poem. The only thing we didn't get was the bio. So if you want to start over with Suzanne's bio.
No problem. So I got Suzanne Green. Her work has brought her to Texas in 1990 from her home in the suburbs of London. She has written a number of poems, some inspired by the local people and landscapes around Southtown. Her poetry has become a means of exploring and healing. Here's Suzanne.
And great work.
Hi everybody.
Hi.
So I started out in life as a geologist, and I've spent most of my career writing, doing technical writing, and discovered poetry a couple of years ago. And I'm really thrilled to be here today because I think, the art of writing is so important. A lot of people say it's a dying art, but really it's a way of communicating effectively between ourselves, and particularly poetry, which I feel offers all things. I mean, it's almost like the ultimate art form. It's an expression of form and color and shape, but also emotion, all wrapped into one. And I see poetry as a way of actually solving problems. So I think for human beings, what we can do is, we know that there's a question that we have to ask, and we're figuring out how do we even construct that question, how do we search for that answer. For me, what I found is poetry has actually helped me search for answers in my life. And so maybe some of these poems will help allude to that a little bit further. The first one's called Cheeky. On the patio drinking coffee, a commotion broke out. Quite a kerfuffle. Comrades flew in. A downy white feather escaped the melee, floating midair like a boat adrift. From behind a pillar staggered a single sparrow. Disheveled and disoriented, he blinked and stared directly at me. I don't know what he tweeted, but whatever it was, it must have been cheeky. This next one, I wrote around New Year this year, watching the events unfold at New Year around the world, and it made me think about the world issues that all of us are facing. Doesn't matter which country you come from, seems like there's a lot of bad news. It's called It's Time. A friend grieves the loss of lives endangered. Perhaps humans should leave this planet to rescue life on Earth. Elephant cries no longer trumpeting across the rift. A kaleidoscope of tiny darting fish, haunted memory of the bleached out reefs. The Chugach orcas haven't birthed a calf since the Valdez spilled its oily cargo in the Sound. The Arctic ice cap is melting, global temps surpassing records every month. Families fleeing desecrated homelands, and man fighting unwinnable wars. Some say revive the good old days, some say revive the dark ages, bring back the good old days of dominance and fear. Makes you wonder, New Year's 2017, it's time we all could shed a tear. This poem, the next poem I call All These Things I Am, is about the interconnectivity between people and I guess all the rest of creation. Into the pale blue a bird flies overhead. Instantly I am airborne, looking down from above. Yet around the corner I see the dark ebony skin of a thin old man walking with a fragile gait. A vivid scar exposed upon his shin. I become the wound, wrapped in hurt, searching for a balm to soothe ruptured skin. I am the voice of a woman calling out to a neighbor's cat hiding beneath her car. Also, the love inside the heart of a young boy who knows no evil. I am in the body of the solitary man, lost in his own thoughts, unreachable. I ignite into a twisted flame of burning paper, which rises in the air until transformed into spiraling tendrils of grey ash, which fall slowly down to earth. All these things I am. I think that ends my presentation. Thank you very much, guys. Fernando Esteban Flores is a native Tejano, a graduate at UT Austin with a BA in English, and he has taught writing at various secondary schools in San Antonio. He has multiple publications, including Written with a Spoon, a poet's cookbook, Is This Forever or What? Visit his website at www.madwarbler.com. Fernando.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the poem. The first poem that I'm going to do is called The Day the Music Died, and it incorporates elements of American Pie by Don McLean. I enjoy music. Music is such an inspiration to me. I couldn't make it through the day without listening to music. And I call this an American empanada. I think everyone might know what an empanada is. It's a pan dulce, like Jesse mentioned in his poem Pan Dulces. And it's packed with all kinds of goodies. The Day the Music Died. A long, long time ago, I can still remember how the music used to make me smile. And I knew that if I had the chance, that I could make those people dance. And maybe they'd be happy for a while. But February made me shiver with every paper I delivered. Bad news on the doorstep. I couldn't take one more step. And I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride. But something touched me deep inside the day the music died. The day the music died, La Raza kept the faith. Dance halls and juke dives didn't miss a beat. Big band brassy boys blew away visionaries with their toys. Innovators synthesized. Technocats tried to discofy the squeeze box. Sound grew fuzzy. Psychedelic pyrotechnics made crazy pyrotechnics. Pero la gente quería chanclear. De cualquier manera, let it ride. At La Villita, Randy's, Lerma's, Frio City Bar, no matter where you were. Under party lights, La Estrellita, clutched in hand to ground you, parked with Cadillacs and cars, out on the snarly street, conjunto pounding the bar, marcando el tiempo con el corazón, Tierra Santa stamped beneath your feet. Neo Chicano, never more alive than when you dived straight into the classic culture clash, soul afire, sleepless with desire, scouring West Side joints to score an ounce of insight, a poetic gram in a city crammed with restless revelers and petty literary thieves, chasing coiled shaqui through ghostly alleys, moon-marked mutineer, the song of the desperate, cleaving heart and ear, la voz del acordeón calling the wanderer home, another guitarra llorando for another lost son. Pero la gente chancleando de cualquier manera, gozando at La Villita, Randy's, Lerma's, Frio City Bar, el pueblo siempre soñando, bailando, dancing away the work week blues, reaching for the stars, howling at the moon. I met a girl who sang the blues, and I asked her for some happy news. She just smiled and turned away. And I went down to the sacred store where I heard the music years before, but the man there said the music wouldn't play. And in the streets, the children screamed, the lovers cried, the poets dreamed, but not a word was spoken. The church bells all were broken. And the three men I admire most, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, they caught the last train for the coast the day the music died. And the last poem I'm going to attempt to hit you with is called Fiesta Frijoles Borrachos. Since Fiesta's coming up here in San Antonio, I'd like to share this with you. Frijoles de puerco, frijoles de charro, frijoles rancheros, frijoles colorados. Tantos y cuantos, cuantos y tantos. Hay muchos frijoles, hasta frijoles de santo. Borrachos, borrachos, frijoles borrachos. Tuck 'em in tacos, pile 'em on platos. Pick 'em and clean 'em, then rinse 'em real good. Boil 'em and cook 'em till tender and firm. Échales bacon, tomates, cilantros, pedacitos de ham y sonrías de ajo. Pop up a ring top of your favorite beer. Pour in with gusto, no need to fear. Slice the chorizo, chop la cebolla, add diced jalapenos, and pour in la olla. Let simmer on low, let the foam reach the brim. Ya me están listos for you to dig in. Borrachos, borrachos, frijoles borrachos, tuck 'em in tacos, pile 'em on platos. Just give me a heap of steaming borrachos. Hazlos refritos and plop 'em on nachos. Borrachos, borrachos, ya están muy borrachos. Just give me a pot of frijoles borrachos. Thank you so much.
Yay! That was awesome. Thank y'all so much. All right, we're going to turn it over to Q&A now. Just a reminder to any of the attendees, if you have a question, you can use the hand raise button or you can type it into the question pane. I wanted to get started with Q&A. I really appreciated how Suzanne kind of talked about her trajectory from going from a geologist and focusing on technical writing to becoming a poet. I was wondering if the rest of you could talk about kind of your journey to poetry. How did you discover poetry and writing?
I'm Jacinto, and I grew up in Alice, the hub of South Texas, and that's one explanation. I just enjoyed words, the sounds of words, and growing up Tex-Mex, my mom, her classic line, "Ice and the Crayola purse." I said, I love that. And so and then as an English teacher, I was teaching all these masterpieces. And I remember one time the teacher assigned the poem by Wordsworth, I wandered lonely as a cloud, and something about a vacant, pensive look. And the only thing that vacant meant to me was my vacant lot next door, and how we Chicanos were going to dance. A cloud of Chicanos dancing in La Vida. So that's how I got into it, is I realized that I also have some words I can share.
I like that. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Entry. The way I got started was when I was very small, around 8 years old. I used to make my own comic books, and I used to like write stories. And at the end of the story, I write a small poem that'd be like the message you could take away from the comic that I just made. And also growing up, my bigger cousin would take me to different like poetry slams, and I used to really admire, you know, the passion that the poets had in them to deliver those poems.
Awesome. Thank you.
One thing that I want to say about Suzanne is when I first met her, part of her story was that she would go to different businesses, restaurants, cafes, Starbucks, and from time to time she would drop off little poems that she wrote, and leave them for the people, for other customers to enjoy. I thought that was something admirable, that somebody who, you know, does so much technical writing in the community, and a wonderful business person of her own. You know, I thought that was really, her poetic nature was coming out, and I really enjoyed, you know, meeting her and working with her. As for me, when I was growing up, I found a pack of tarot cards that my mom had hidden. I was a very curious child by nature. I got into a lot of trouble, and you know, niño travieso, as my grandmother used to call me. And I would get into everything. You know, they couldn't keep anything secret from me because I wanted to know the things behind the things. And ever since to this day, I'm still that way. Travieso. I always tell my students that writing gets you into trouble, but it can be good trouble. And they always question me, how can that be, sir? That's like a contradiction. I say, yeah, it is. It's an oxymoron. So, you know, poetry allows you to engage in all kinds of conversations. And what I like about our group here is that, and this is only part of the group, it's so eclectic, so many professionals and so many individuals that come through our group. I would like to make a plug for Collins Gardens on the last day of National Poetry Month, Saturday the 29th, from 2 to 4. If you're in San Antonio, drop by the library here. It's a gem in the community, and we're going to be having a big old poetry event with 13 poets, all from Voces, Cósmicas, and each one is a cada cabeza es un mundo, so to speak. And they all bring different things to the event. We're also going to have a song singer, Michael Martin, who will be providing some music, you know, at the beginning, the middle, and at the end. So that's going to be a great event for us. And you know, poetry has made this day possible. Poetry has made a lot of things in our lives possible. We engage people all over Texas, and it's bringing people together and opening up channels of communication, such as today. And I know we're very honored to be here today.
Excellent, thank you. You know, you mentioned making a plug for the library and Collins Gardens, and I also want to give each of you to make a plug for yourselves, because we have representatives from colleges from throughout Texas on the line. Certainly I see San Antonio, I see South Texas, I see El Paso, and we want to give our faculty and our practitioners in our program the opportunity to get in touch with you if they want to bring you to their campuses sometime. So I was going to do it for you, but I think it'll be better coming from y'all. If you want to tell folks how they can reach you if they want to bring you on campus to talk to their students sometime.
I'm Jacinto Jesus Cardona, and on Facebook I have a site, Tita Jacinto Jesus Cardona. I teach full-time at Incarnate Word High School here in San Antonio, Texas, and just sending me a message to the school, and one way to contact. It'd be a pleasure to work with anyone.
You can also, Lydia, if you want to send me any questions, or if anyone expresses an interest, you have my email and my Facebook. You can always send me, and I will definitely disseminate it to the rest of the group. And then they can deal with anyone directly.
Absolutely. And Dr. Chavez just sent me a note saying to remind everybody that we'll have each of these poets in our peer mentor roster. So we'll have that information for our practitioners as well.
Lydia, I was going to say too that we will be in San Antonio for our Fall Institute, October 25th to the 27th. I know last year both Fernando and Susan joined us. Hopefully you can join us again next October, and we will send the information to all of you. If all of you are available, we would love to have you for our reception. They're mini sessions, but we do hope that you will have an opportunity to meet some of our other partners across the state at that time. So please set the date and we will send that info to you, and we can go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chavez.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
A couple more questions. Jesus and Fernando, you both mentioned being teachers. Since many of our practitioners are in the classroom, I was wondering if any of you can speak to any advice that you can offer about how we can encourage our students to find their voices through writing specifically.
Well, I used to encourage my students. I would put a theme on the board screen, and students would write every day for 10 minutes. And then we would share, and then we would get on to the lesson at hand. It got so powerful that students refused to give up their platform. They all wanted to read. All of a sudden, they were a slam poet, and they were fighting for their 2-3 minutes to share what they had written. We started off slow, but after it caught on, then I'd have people skipping classes and wanting to come to my room. So I thought that was the power of writing. Just once you open that can of Pandora's box, I was thinking, boy, then I couldn't, they loved it. And I didn't have any trouble after that with anything, There was no discipline to worry about. They disciplined themselves. So, if you take time to write with them, it may not be popular at first. You might have to pull some hair. But after a while, the kids get the idea that it's serious and you love writing. And I would bring in poets. I would read every day from books. Never a day without writing in my classroom. I think I got that from Jesse. We're partners in teaching. We taught in Edmond for a long time. And so I know what it takes. It's tough at first, but once the kids see that you're serious, they will buy into it, and they know that you care, and then they will not let you down. No matter what you do after that, they've got your back. Sometimes, I think, but anyway. So, I would bring music, bring art, bring stories, recipes, anything that you can, jumpstart. You got to meet them somewhere in the middle. And they love music, they love to eat, they love art, they love, dialoguing. You just got to tap into that realm. Justin?
Yes, Fernando. Just today, in one of my classes, we are reading Things Fall Apart, a great Nigerian novel. And I was telling them about chapter 13, a pivotal chapter. But before that, I said, all right, what we're going to do is raise your hand, everybody at one time. And I want you to say whatever comes to your mind. What do you associate with those digits? 13, 1, 3. And so at first they always want to ask, well, what do I say? No, just trust yourself. And then the thing to do after that, and they all gave me marvelous answers. And then we type them all up and you make a list. And that's what a poem is. That is what prose is, lines, sentences, list. So one way to work with students and get them engaged is simple things like, let's do a list. But I always tell them it's things like, for example, they take an acronym like TUMS, right? But it doesn't mean Tums for your tummy. It's tell us more stories. And so the thing is to just be open to all kinds of things and be willing to bomb. That's so important, because you go in with all of this and all of a sudden they just give you these blank looks. But you try again, that's the thing. I primarily tell them to pay attention, bring something to the class that they pay attention to. One time, one of my students, they didn't want to read or write, but I told them, they are, what do we have in our community? And Fernanda knows this. Well, in the west side and the south side of San Antonio, tire shops. And I told them, you're right. And they have 3 words, and it's a sentence. It's a subject and a verb and a direct object. We fix flats. Not maybe, not good. See? So I wrote it, and the thing is to turn your classroom into a wall of words. Ask your students to bring their favorite word and just put it up there. I would take newspapers, I would take all kinds of things. So I know sometimes that's not possible for a lot of teachers, but even I was a floating teacher. I didn't have a room, and it took work, but I put them up and take them down because they've got to see you. That's the key. That you're crazy about reading and writing. And I always end my discussions with it's paper, pencil, plus potential.
Nice. I love that. Jesus, you are a wealth of wisdom. We need to get you into our institute.
And so that we don't get into ideas here, I have 50 years of teaching experience. I'm an oldie, but I'm still in it, and I enjoy teaching and writing. And to me, it's like my first year teaching.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. I've written down so many lovely gems here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's a great group we've got here. So all the energy is here right now.
Absolutely.
Keep on, talking to each other.
Better harness it like a carpenter.
Yeah, we're not.
That's right. Good. We're going to keep that energy going. We've got a couple more questions here. One is for Intre. What would you say, Intre, is the difference between poetry and slam poetry?
Well, to me, slam has always been more just aggressive, kind of just, you're just projecting everything you're saying in a more aggressive tone. Poetry, like as far as just poems are concerned, it's more, you can go more ways with it. It's no restrictions. It's just, you can go whatever direction you want with it, and you can speak on whatever type of subject you want in whatever way you like. So it's more versatility when it comes to just poetry opposed to slam poems where you're just attacking. That's the way I perceive it, at least.
Cool. And we got one more question here. I'll open this up to any of you. Again, it's a student-related question, but do you think it's easier to get students to like writing through poetry?
Yes, I say yes. I always started with poetry and finished with poetry. In between, we covered everything else.
Do you ever encounter that resistance, like students who say things like, I don't get poetry, or, stuff like that?
All the time. There's always going to be one or two who resist and complain about it, but then they see their peers getting into it.
And a lot of it is just also things that what I would do, and still do, I'll get a poem and I read it, and I tell them, I don't know why I like it, I just like it. And, there so much is like, we got to write a paper on it, we got to do an analysis, you got to have a PhD on it. No, it's just a twinkle little stuff, okay? So the thing is to just diffuse that thing about how what does it mean? No, it's what you like it. 1 word, 2 words, and sometimes a poem may be just 4 lines that you like. There are poems that are my favorite poems, but there's only really 1 stanza that I like. The rest, like my kids say,
The other thing, Lydia, is to build up your own library in your campus, your own room, with cultural poets from your city, poets from different ethnicities. And I used to go around looking for books, which were hard to find back in the days, of Chicano poets, Mexican American poets, beyond Sanders and Perros, who was a cultural icon at one point, but we needed other voices, male voices, more female voices, and bring those into the classroom to create more dialogue, and until the students started seeing that there was value in that, and that people were affirming their own identity, wanting to, hey, I can do a poem about that too. I remember my friend Nidal Sanchez, who came to my classroom many times, read his poem, Why Am I So Brown? A question Chicanitas often ask, and that would blow the kids away. And then he would do his poem about Stop the Madness, the Killing in Chicago, where he came from. And, you know, it was always very touching, and the kids would always respond. Once you have people who can engage you like that, it makes the rest of the year easy. And values poetry as an art form. It's something that now you have to teach in school. Before it was always optional to teach poetry.
Yeah.
Now it's something that is affirmed and valuable, and it should be taught and not ignored. Yeah, poetry is the way to go for me.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I agree. I think also in terms of, you know, we're winding down our academic year now, about to close out the spring semester, but I think, you know, it's sort of fortuitous that we're doing this during National Poetry Month, but for me anyway, it's giving me a lot to think about in terms of how I want to plan out my courses in the coming year. And I think that, you know, that point of using poetry from the very beginning, and, you know, building a library and building cultural resources, and turning your classroom into a bowl of words. I love that. And, you know, all of that is, you know, planning for what you're going to do in the classroom, to me, is one of the most exciting parts of teaching. So thank you for giving us that food for thought.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And I think that's going to do it for us with the questions. So thank you all again.
Thank you. A clap for everybody. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you all. You are perfectly free to sign off. We're going to do our business part of our meeting now, and I will definitely be connecting with all of you to make sure we get you on board our peer mentoring program as well, and that you all have my contact information.
See you in October.
Thank you. Good luck. See you.
Very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Chavez.
And we'll be in touch.
Okay.